Hello guys, welcome back to another video. This is your performance management tutor, Sir Uzair Awan, and this video is a continuation of CVP analysis. So this is the fourth video that I am recording. The previous three has been uploaded on my YouTube channel. In the first one, we discussed what were break-even, the concept behind it, how to calculate break-even in terms of units, in terms of revenue, right? Then in the second video, we discuss about the target profit, right? In the third one, we discuss margin of safety, the concept, all the formulas and everything. And now in the fourth video, we'll be starting with the break-even chart. Now this is very important, break-even chart. Now remember in the exam, in your real examination, you won't be examined to draw a break-even chart because you cannot draw a break-even chart, right? But what they would test you are MCQs related to the charts, right? So you cannot answer those MCQs until unless you have a fair idea of how those charts are drawn, okay? And when I say those chart, obviously I mean that there are more than one chart, but right now the first one that we'll be discussing is what we call the break even chart. Okay, break even chart. Now from the first lecture you guys already know what is break even, what break even means, how did we calculate break even in terms of units, revenue, and so on and so forth. In this video you'll have to learn how to draw the chart of that. Okay, now before teaching you how to draw the break even chart, remember these three things, that in the break even chart you have three lines. Okay, the first line is going to be of the fixed cost, and since the fixed cost does not changes with respect to units, so it is going to be a straight line like this. So this is going to be the first line of fixed cost. Okay, your x-axis always represents the number of units, remember that, and your y-axis in a break-even chart always represents your revenue. Okay, so this is the first thing. Now the second thing that you need to remember, that the first line we have is of a fixed cost. Okay, then the second line that we have in our break even chart is of the total revenue, and it always starts from 0 comma 0, the origin from here, and it goes something like this. Okay, so this is how your total revenue line looks like. Okay, total revenue, all right, and it's going to be the same, that you will have revenue on your y-axis and units on your x-axis. Okay, and the third and the last line that you have on your break-even chart is your total cost line, and total cost line is like this, right? But remember that it does not start from the origin. The total revenue starts from the origin, which is 0 comma 0, your origin, but the total cost line, it does not start with the origin. So if it does not start from the origin, where does it start from then, right? So yeah, that is something that I'll be explaining you through a practical question, so don't worry. But remember that break-even chart has only three lines. The first one of a fixed cost, the other one of a total revenue, and the third one of a total cost. So total cost, total revenue, fixed cost. These three lines are there in the break-even chart. Okay. Now let me write a question over here, example question. So let's say that the question says following data relates to product P. Following data relates to product P. And what is the data? The data is that you have a selling price per unit of, let's say, $20 per unit. Okay. You have labor, which is $3 per unit. Okay. You have fixed overhead of $30,000. Okay. You have your material. You have your material of $8 per unit. All right. You have your variable overhead of $4 per unit. And let's say that you have your budgeted sales of 10,000 units. Got it? So this is the data that is given to us in the question. Okay. You have your selling price, material, variable overhead, labor, fixed overhead, and budgeted sales. Now what does the question want us to do? With all this detail, the question wants us to draw a break-even chart. It says draw a break-even chart. Now again, I'm saying this, I'm repeating this, that in the real exam, you won't have a question to draw a break-even chart. but you still need to know how it is drawn, what are the lines, and then there's some additional things that I'll be telling you later on, right? These all things you should know in order to attempt the MCQs that would definitely be there. You can check on Study Help, you can check on the Kaplan kit, you'll find a lot of questions of these charts, right? So you cannot solve them without having the proper knowledge of how they are drawn, how the lines are drawn, what each of those lines represent, and then some other things that I'll be telling you later. Anyways, now break even chart, what did I tell you? That there is going to be a y-axis and an x-axis. The y-axis is going to represent the revenue and the x-axis is going to represent your units, right? So let me draw a y-axis over here, right? Then let's draw a x-axis over here. Now what is the y-axis? Revenue. And what is the x-axis? Units. Okay. Now, okay, I know that y-axis is revenue, x-axis is units, but how do I know that? How am I going to allocate the scales, right? So remember that when we talk about units, you always mark your maximum unit with the budgeted unit that is given to you in the question. So what is the budgeted sales that is given to you in the question? It's basically 10,000 units, right? So you're going to come over here and you're going to write 10,000 units. Okay. And this you know is 0, right? So this is 0, this is 10,000. Now between this 0 and 10,000, you can allocate the scale in whatever way you like, right? So maybe you can write like this, you can write it like this, 2,000, you can write it like this, 4,000, right, 6,000, and then 8,000. Now obviously this is not the most perfect graph because I'm just drawing a rough graph just to give you guys an idea. So you can either do 2,000, 4,000, 6, 8, and 10. Or you can also do 1,002, 3,004, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way to 10. Okay. So that's perfectly fine. You can allocate the scale in whatever way you want. But remember that the maximum number of unit would be what you have been given in the question as your budgeted sales. Is that clear? Now when it comes to revenue, it's going to be the same thing. What is the maximum revenue that you're going to write over here? It's going to be the maximum revenue, right? Which is going to be the maximum budgeted sales, which is 10,000 units over here, times your selling price. What is the selling price? $20, right? So that's going to give you your maximum revenue, which is going to be how much? 10 times 20, that's $200,000, right? So I'm going to come over here, and over here I'm going to write in my maximum value as $200. Okay. Clear? And then obviously this is 0, right? So from 0 to 200,000 you can allocate the scale as you like. Okay, as you like. Okay, so the way that I'm going to do is like this. I'm going to write 40,000, 80,000, okay, 120,000, 40, 80, 120, 160, and then finally 200,000. Clear? Right? So again, you don't have to necessarily allocate the scale like this. You can do in whatever way you like. Okay, so 40,000, 80, 120, 160, 200, 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000. So this is how the scale is allocated. I hope it's clear. Okay, now what do we have to do? Now we have to basically draw our lines, right? So first of all, as you guys know, is a line of fixed costs. Now fixed costs does not change, right? So like I told you over here, that fixed cost is going to be a plain line, but the point is where. So it says that the fixed overheads are $30,000. Look at the question. It says fixed overhead are how much? $30,000, right? So $30,000 revenue, that's your fixed overhead. $30,000 is your fixed overhead. So this is $40,000. This is $40,000. $30,000 is going to be somewhere over here, for example, right? So remember that I am just drawing a rough graph to give you guys an idea. You can draw a proper graph. Okay, so 10,000 units, and on 10,000 units, remember that your budgeted sales were 10,000 units, and it is on this budgeted sales that you are incurring a fixed overhead of $30,000. So you're going to put a point at 10,000 30,000, which is going to be this point, right? And you're going to just draw the fixed cost line, a straight line like this, okay? Because no matter if it's 10,000, 8,000, 6,000, 4,000, 2,000, the units does not matter because the fixed overhead would always remain the same, correct? So this is your fixed overhead or your fixed cost line, okay? Let me just use a different color because my y-axis and x-axis is also green. So let me just use a different color to draw the fixed overhead line. Okay, there you go. So this is our fixed cost line. Clear? Now the second line that we have to draw is of the total revenue, because I told you there are only three lines. The first one we drew it, fixed cost. The second one is total revenue, and third would be the total cost. Okay. So let's look at the total revenue first. Now total revenue, how would I draw the line of total revenue? It's very simple. The first point is going to be 0, 0. Why? Because if you make a sale of 0 units, your revenue would also be 0. So the first point, look over here, I'm marking the first point at 0, 0. Okay. Now the second point would be at the maximum units. So what are the maximum units? 10,000. At 10,000, what is the revenue that you can generate? So 10,000 units into selling price of $20, it's 200,000, right? So that means at 10,000 units, I'm going to make a revenue of $200,000, which is somewhere over here. So let me put a point over here, right? Now I'm just going to connect these 2 points like this. Okay, like this. And this is my total revenue line. Got it? Okay. Okay, now the third line that we have is of the total cost. Now total cost means variable plus fixed. So variable, you can see 8, 4 and 3, right? So if I add 8 plus 4 plus 3, that's going to be 15. And what are the total number of units that we have budgeted? 10,000. So 15, that is the total variable cost, times 10,000, that is our budgeted unit. So that is a total cost of 150,000 plus the fixed overhead cost of 30,000. So that's going to give me total cost of $180,000 at 10,000 units. So 10,000 units, what is the total cost? 180. Now this is 160, this is 2 lakh. So 180 is going to be somewhere over here in between, right? So just going to place my point randomly somewhere over here. Okay, got it? Like this. Okay. And obviously at 0 units, the cost would be 0, right? But remember that I just told you that total cost never starts from the origin. It never starts from 0, 0. So remember the question that, okay, if it's not start with 0, 0, how we will know that where we will start from? So remember that it always starts from the fixed cost line. Do you see this fixed cost line? So you're going to start at the top of the fixed cost. Okay. So it always starts from above the fixed cost line. Do you see this fixed cost line? Do you see how I started the line above the fixed cost line like this? So it always starts from here. Remember this. It always starts from here. Remember this. And this is your maximum point, the total cost point at 10,000 units, 180. You put a point and that's it. Got it? Alright, so that is your total cost line. Now again, this is a rough graph. Okay, remember this is a rough graph. This is not the most perfect. Okay, you guys would draw the most perfect yourself. I'm just giving you guys an idea. So this is a rough graph. So now this is what our break-even chart looks like. It has 3 lines: total revenue, total cost, and fixed cost. And this is how you draw it. Okay, this is very important because you guys should know this. Okay, they will test this in the MCQs. Remember this. And if you guys don't trust me, just go on StudyHub, open the Kaplan kit, and you see a lot of questions in the CVP chapter. Okay, so it's better that you understand it right now. And now the most important thing, now you guys know how to draw the break-even chart, you know how the lines are drawn, you know everything. But now the most important thing that is again tested in the MCQs, and that is that by looking at the break-even chart, can you tell what is the break-even point? So yes, remember that the point where the total revenue line and the total cost line intersect, that is your break-even point. Remember that. Okay, again I'm repeating that the point where your total revenue and total cost intersects, that is your break-even point. So if I extend it downwards like this, so it's going to come somewhere over here at 5,000 units, right? So you can just tell them that the break-even point is 5,000 units. Okay, So you see how you can use your break-even chart to tell the break-even point. Again, I'm repeating that the intersection point of total revenue line and the total cost line is your break-even point. Okay, remember this. Now, the most important thing, and that is that by looking at the graph, can you tell where is the loss, where is the profit, where is the variable cost, and where is the margin of safety? Yes. Now listen very carefully. You know how to use your graph to find the break-even point, right? Now there are a few more things that you need to learn. First of all, remember that this side, the upper side from the break-even point, that is your profit. Okay, so this side is your profit. Okay, and anything less than the break-even point is your loss. So this side is your loss. Got it? So if in the MCQs they ask you that which area represent profit, it's this area, the area above the break-even point. Okay, and if they ask you that which area represents loss, this area represents loss, the one that I've shaded with blue. Okay, because it is below the break-even point. Okay, so this area loss, this area profit, and it makes sense. It makes sense because if you are making more units than what you need to, or let me rephrase it. If you are selling more units than you need to sell to achieve your break-even point, obviously you're going to make profit because you have already achieved your break-even point. Now you are selling more, so then you will be in the profit. And if you sell less than the break-even point, then we have already discussed in our previous classes, then that would be a loss, right? So this makes sense, correct? And now remember this, that this is total cost. Look over here very carefully. This is total cost. This line is of total cost. This line is of total cost. And this line is of fixed cost. So anything between the total cost and the fixed cost, anything between the total cost and the fixed cost will be your variable cost. So if they ask you in the MCQs that which area represents the variable cost, it will be the area between the total cost and the fixed cost, because what do you achieve if you subtract total cost with fixed cost? The variable cost, right? So this area is variable cost. See? Okay. And now, last but not the least, margin of safety. How would you tell them the margin of safety? Very simple. Just remember the formula of margin of safety. Just try to recall the formula of margin of safety. We studied this in the previous class, right? Budgeted sales minus break-even sales, right? Come over here. Now come over here. Let me tell you how to find my margin of safety. Which area will tell you the margin of safety? Very simple. So what are break-even sales? This one, 5,000, right? And what are the budgeted units? 10,000. In the question, they told you already that the budgeted sales were 10,000 units, right? So what were the budgeted units? 10,000, right? They have already told you that in the question. So if I, let's say, make a line over here, right? So the area between the break-even point and the budgeted units, which were 10,000, this, in this example, this area, that is going to be your margin of safety. Got it? That is going to be your margin of safety. Is this clear? So the area between the break-even and the budgeted sales, which is 10,000, that is your margin of safety. The area between the fixed cost and total cost is your variable cost. The area above the break-even point is your profit, and below the break-even point is your loss. And what is the break-even point? The point where total revenue and total cost line intersects. And with that, our break-even chart is done. These are the only thing that you need to learn, you need to remember, you need to practice, and you'll be good for your exam. You can handle any kind of MCQ in the exam. Okay, so this was just the break-even chart. Remember that this is not the only chart we have in our syllabus. We have the contribution chart also, which is pretty much exactly the same as break-even chart, just a few variation, right? And lastly, we have the profit to volume chart, which is basically a little different, right? So we'll cover that in our next video, right? For this video, we'll keep it till here. And if you guys are finding this video helpful, please support me by subscribing this channel and liking this video. And if you have any question, even after this explanation, if you think that there are some things that are still not clear, just let me know in the comment section. I'll reply to you as soon as possible. Till then, take care. Have a great day. Goodbye.